It was a season like few others, or really no other in 2020, but like few others, I would say, with Texas A&M success, finishing in the top 5 in the country, we would expect after the national championship game. And certainly it will be an offseason like no other with this transfer portal going crazy. We got Leah Musgrave on the line from TexAgs.com to help us sort things out. Leah, how you doing today?
Doing great, Mark. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a crazy year, but fun to watch it all cap out with an Orange Bowl win.
And we've got a year in, a season that was completed. Only 2 games missed in the SEC. I would think by any measurement that that's an enormous success, and everyone feels good about the accomplishments of the athletes to be able to go through the guidelines and make it through a very difficult time.
Yeah, absolutely. Just an unbelievable achievement. If you had asked me 8 months ago if A&M was going to play a full season or if we were going to get any college football at all, I don't know what I would have told you. So the fact that they made it all the way through and only had 1 game canceled is pretty remarkable. And I think it's something to be thankful for as well.
Orange Bowl victory for A&M to conclude a 9-1 season, 2-touchdown win over North Carolina. The game was somewhat in doubt until a couple minutes left to play, and then A&M salted it away with a late score. Considering North Carolina, so I got to say, this was, for me, the best game on the board initially when the matchups were decided, along with Oklahoma and Florida. Then, of course, North Carolina had a number of opt-outs, its best offensive weapons, best defensive player. Was there any thought in regards to this win being at all tainted? Not that Texas A&M could control any of that.
I think people were really excited just the week leading up to it because not a single Texas A&M player actually opted out. And they were so excited to end the year with an Orange Bowl, potentially win. But like you said, they were not in control of that entire game. I mean, North Carolina came to play, and Mack Brown coached them well, exactly as I thought that he would. And I think everyone in College Station was probably having a little bit of a flare-up of their battered Aggie syndrome there pretty early on. But, you look up in the fourth quarter, and it was a completely different story. And you just witnessed fourth quarter dominance on both sides. A&M was down by 7, and then they put up 21 unanswered points. And I think it was a really impressive win. At the end of the day, it was pretty balanced when you look at the final stat sheet. A&M put up 460 yards and 41 points, and they covered the 7.5-point spread. Jimbo has made comments in the past about sending his seniors out the right way. And I think about the first plane ride home for this senior class. They came home from the Rose Bowl on the West Coast in a Labor Day weekend matchup against UCLA in 2017. And Josh Rosen was under center, and A&M blew a 34-point lead in that game. And 4 years later, they are Orange Bowl champions. So really, it was probably one of the worst losses to start their A&M career, and probably one of the best ways to go out, in my opinion.
Yeah, that game blew up Twitter. And it's interesting that you put that in perspective in regards to the beginning of the career and the end of the career and what the accomplishments were there. That's pretty remarkable to think of it in those terms. We look at Kellen Mond finishing up a career, just announced just minutes ago that he will declare for the NFL draft. I was looking at the numbers. They're staggering despite his few detractors. 19 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions this year, a 63% completion percentage, and accounted for 93 touchdowns in his career, rushing and passing at Texas A&M. Just your thoughts about his career and going on to the next level.
Yeah, the growth that we've seen from Kellen Mond has been really remarkable. He came to A&M as a 4-star guy from IMG Academy, and he actually was originally committed to Baylor. And he has just grown so much. He's broken so many records. People like to remind us that Johnny Manziel broke those records in 2 years. And yeah, we know, but right now, A&M fans are celebrating the achievements that Kellen Mond has just passed. He's now the all-time leader in passing yards and passing touchdowns in total offense. And I know there's a couple other ones that I'm missing, but like you said, 19 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions this whole year. Just the growth and the story, I think, is one for the history books in College Station. He's someone that his teammates have really grown to respect and rally around. And that's been really fun to watch from the outside. So as somebody who has covered Texas A&M, I wish him absolutely nothing but the best. I definitely think it was expected that he was going to declare for the NFL draft, and we wish him the best in the Senior Bowl and beyond.
Leah, I've got to tell you, the gold medal mentality in this country drives me crazy. You're the second most accomplished quarterback by most measures, regardless of how you look at it, and a storied tradition of a program like Texas A&M, and you've got your detractors. It's just crazy. Linebacker Aaron Hansford also has announced that he will attend the Senior Bowl, so that pretty much means NFL draft for him. 49 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. There's just a litany of guys, and as you mentioned to me before we started to record, more to come in regards to announcing whether they're going to go to the next level or come back to Texas A&M. If you could run down as many as possible. I know it's a lot to keep upstairs in regards to the list of names for the Aggies in regards to this decision time.
Yeah, the biggest thing is compartmentalizing everything because they're just trickling in slowly, and we know that there's still more to come. So the biggest thing we're looking at right now is the offensive line. You know, there were 4 seniors starting on A&M's offensive line. Ryan McCollum and Dan Moore have both declared for the draft, so that means we are waiting on Jared Hawker and Carson Green. We were thinking that Dan Moore would be the one most likely to come back, but I would not expect anyone on the offensive line to be back in 2021. If they do, it's just an added bonus. Defensively, like you said, Aaron Hansford is headed to the Senior Bowl. Hasn't technically declared yet, but I think that's probably where that's going. Guys like Buddy Johnson and Bobby Brown are the ones on the defensive side of the ball that we expect to enter the draft, but we're just not sure yet, right? And we kind of look at the way that things have gone in the past and maybe the personal responsibilities that these guys have. I mean, Buddy Johnson just had a daughter recently. You just don't know what's going on there. So we are expecting them to enter the draft. Right now, we know that Cam Buckley, Jaden Peavy, Leon O'Neal, and Elijah Blades, and I'm sure I'm missing somebody, but we know for sure that they have announced that they're coming back. And like I said before, anybody else who comes back really is just an added bonus.
I think I've got the name of Cameron Buckley as well at wide receiver, 11 catches a couple years ago. So he and Blades did not play this past season. Did they both opt out, Buckley and Blades?
Both of them were injured at the beginning of the year, and so it was one of those things. We actually expected Elijah Blades to not come back at all because he declared for the draft early, but it looks like he is back now and has an extra year to rest up that shoulder, and hopefully we'll have a breakout season in 2021.
And you know I'm a big fan of Buddy Johnson, 85 tackles last year. He's all over the place, and what a remarkable season he had. So that announcement to be determined as well. We got Leah Musgrave on the line from TexAgs.com. You see the banner right there. Please join her and the rest of the staff covering Texas A&M athletics. This is Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We lock it in. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. That's the mission each and every day. And the transfer portal, the name list was up to 600 plus as of a few days ago. I wouldn't be surprised if it was at 700. 87 quarterbacks was the count a few days ago. It's just crazy across the nation. What is Texas A&M's slice of this, and will there be more to come?
I would assume that there's probably more to come. It's really one of these things we just don't entirely know yet, because the thing that stood out to me was Connor Blumrick entered the portal, but then was actually with the team at the Orange Bowl. It's one of those things we're going to have to wait and see, because at one point Leon O'Neal was in the transfer portal, and then he came back and actually made a pretty big impact for Texas A&M this year. So it's not something I can exactly detail to this moment. I think with more of Jimbo's guys coming in, there will probably be more. But like you said, just a crazy amount of players in the portal right now. And I'm really interested to see how many actually end up with a spot. I think this is going to create so many headaches in terms of roster management when coaches think about how everybody gets a year of eligibility back.
Leah, you've got your pulse on the program and the fan base like few others. I've got to think that despite the disappointment of the college football playoff selection, that following an Orange Bowl win, a 9-1 season, it's going to be a top 5 team in the nation. And who knows, maybe some voters are going to go the route of jumping Texas A&M over Notre Dame after their performance against Alabama. That the feeling has to be just a groundswell of optimism toward the future because of the recruiting. Jimbo Fisher has a great program in place, and what the team accomplished this year.
Yeah, I would expect them to be maybe 3 or 4, and I think that's probably about right. But you don't want to stop there. And I think few people would argue that Texas A&M is on an upward trajectory, and the future of the program continues to look bright based on the way that Jimbo and his staff are recruiting, but not just how they're recruiting, but how they're developing players. It really seems like guys who weren't even recruited by Jimbo Fisher have entirely bought into his system. Now, we've got an interesting quarterback battle coming up in the spring between Zach Calzada and Haynes King, and then Eli Stowers, the 2022 quarterback, will be on campus as an early enrollee as well. So there's a lot to look forward to. I think things will be really interesting as we continue to see the upward trajectory of this program, but I don't think they're stopping anytime soon. They're recruiting the state of Texas really well, but they're also starting to expand their brand nationally. And I think that's the big thing, is that A&M is kind of on the outside looking in, but they don't plan on stopping there. And I know that they have hopes of being in the playoffs in the future.
Leah, we thank you so much for taking time for us. Have a great day, and it should be an interesting off season.
Awesome, Mark. Thanks so much for having me.